like you do.
Welcome, everybody, to the Unready room. We're back. It's been a while. I'm so happy to be here. So
Me too.
excited. I'm judging by the comments too before we got started. Other people are excited too, which makes me very, very happy. So, yeah. Star Trek Discovery is back. We're back. This is so much fun. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just okay, this is the warring feelings that I'm going to be wrestling with this whole season, which is I'm so excited. I want to see every episode now. I want to take it all in now, but I don't want it to end. I don't want it to be
Agreed.
over. And I'm so sad.
No, that is exactly when we watched episode 1, when Dave and I watched episode 1, every other second was, "I can't believe I'm gonna not have any more of this."
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just like, watching Discovery do a spore drive jump, and I'm like, "I'm never gonna get tired of that."
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
can't this
absolutely.
can't be the last time, but it is. It is.
It is. And the one thing I guess I should say, of course, I'm Dan Gunther. Welcome to the Unready Room. Welcome everybody who's joining us and who's joining us after the fact in the tape delay, as we would say back in the 90s. And with me, of course, gotta do the wave. It's Brandi.
Hi, Dan.
Hey Brandi, how's it going?
It's going well. I've got a lot of Star Trek stuff I'm doing today, so that's never a
Yeah.
bad thing, right?
No, never. This month. Oh my goodness. I'm like, I
Mhm.
did my schedule out for the month and I'm going, oh my God. But
Mhm.
I'm going to enjoy every minute of it though. So
Yeah. Star Trek!
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so getting back to what we're saying, yeah, there's gonna be those moments, right, where you're like, oh, this is the last time they call for Black Alert. This is the last time that I don't know, Stamets steps into the spore drive cube. Last time Grudge gives us attitude. Like it's gonna be sad.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's hard, and I'm trying not to think about that, and yet I can't not think about it.
Mhm. Yeah. And the other thing that is kind of the elephant in the room with Discovery right now is I'm honestly torn from day to day if it's for better or for worse, but throughout this whole season, they're not aware that it's the final season when they're making
Mhm.
it. You know, they filmed some extra stuff, but that's all in the final episode, we're told. Just kind of on the end. All of this is they don't know that this is going to be their last season. In some ways, you know, maybe that's bad. That could make them miss some opportunities that they might have taken if they had known. But in other ways, maybe it's good. Sometimes there's shows that are very aware it's the final season and it's very like kind of focused on that. And maybe this freed them up a little bit to have a bit more fun with the season than they maybe otherwise would have. I don't know. So I guess
Mhm.
we'll have to see how it plays out.
I guess so. I just, you all know my feelings about this, I'm not gonna rehash them, but
Mhm.
just a reminder to everyone, we wouldn't have all this Trek if it weren't for Discovery, so
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it ushered in the Trek on television renaissance right now, so, um
it did, and besides that, it has truly gone where no one has gone before.
Mhm,
It has
absolutely.
gone to a time that has never been done in any other Star Trek.
Mhm. Yeah, opened up a whole new era to
Mhm.
explore, like, the things that people wanted Star Trek to do after, whatever, Discovery went ahead and did it, and, yeah, it's always gonna be pretty cool for ushering that in, definitely.
Yes.
Well, so yeah, we're talking about Discovery as a whole, but let's zero in on what we're talking about in this episode, which is of course the 2 episode season premiere that dropped on Thursday. We have episode 1 Red Directive and episode 2 Under the Twin Moons. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. I'm told it's a very good place to start. So uh
Don't get me singing, Dan!
You've seen through my clever ruse. Um, so yeah, Red Directive. Um, let's just jump right into the start of the episode. I'm going to start. I'm sad to say, with a tiny little criticism, which is that every freaking season premiere and season finale has to start with some big action sequence. And in order to do it with this episode, they did the like, oh, we'll show a few minutes of what's going to happen later in the episode and then bring us back. Like, why do you have to do that? You could have just started with the reception for the Millennium Celebration. Got to have something whiz bang flashy though to start with.
Yeah, I felt the same way because you know how I hate the 4 hours earlier crap.
I immediately thought of you when I saw that, and I went,
I'm
"Oh
sure
yeah."
you did. 'Cause I'm just like, "No, no, you didn't just do that to me, Discovery. You didn't just do that to me. You did."
Yeah.
Bringing back the 4 hours earlier crap along with the frickin' cliffhanger at the end of the season in Strange New Worlds. No, I haven't forgiven you.
And
Anyway,
the thing is, like, that can work if there's an interesting reason for it. Like, if there's, something in the scene that you interpret one way, and then you go back and see how it plays out, and then it completely changed, and you're like, "Oh, that's what was going on. I thought, oh, that's crazy." But no, in this case, it's just showing a little bit of what's gonna happen, then going back, and then eventually getting there again. Um, which,
yeah,
yeah, I guess you gotta
and
have the thing to grab people, but
well,
we're
yeah,
already grabbed. Stop it.
I get that, but the thing that bothered me the most is that they did it like we were dumb. They repeated a lot of the stuff that they'd already shown us before the 4 hours earlier crap, and
Mhm.
what they needed to do was just pick up where that left off,
Yeah.
but they didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It felt like an editing decision, not in the filming of the episode decision. Like it
Agreed.
yeah. But anyway, so we'll put that aside and move on. So
Yes.
we've got this reception celebrating the millennium of the Federation, which I hadn't really thought of, but they're a couple decades late, but that's okay. They were dealing with the burn; they couldn't celebrate, but now they're celebrating. So that was kind of fun. I like the little cocktail they have to celebrate it too.
The popping of the bubbles
That's always
and the floaty bits in it. What are these? Oh, those are the stars. The stars like on the flag.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, then still that sort of eyes wide while taking a sip.
It apparently tastes like a Jumja stick, which was a nice little
Mm,
DS9 reference I appreciated.
indeed, indeed. I agree. There's gonna
No.
be a few things that, are reminiscent of other series, I think,
Mhm.
because, that's all in the past in this, so they can
Yeah,
reference whatever they want.
exactly, yeah. So the part of this that interested me a bit was, that Starfleet has kind of shelved the Spore Drive project because, of course, their prototype that they had constructed was blown up on Book's ship last season. And they've gone in favor of something called the Pathway Drive. And Stamets Stamets is there with the name tag as scientific luminary, which I thought was great. It feeds his ego a bit, but he's like, "What does it even mean?"
Yeah, well, he doesn't have the same ego that he did before. Um,
No, for
yeah,
sure.
like, first season Stamets is completely different from 5th season Stamets.
Yeah. That said, yeah, he doesn't have the same ego and sharpness for sure, but that said, he does still want to leave a legacy, and he's a little worried
Yeah.
about that. He's fearing for what he'll be remembered for now, I guess. And Culber's assuring him, "Don't worry, it'll be something." So I think we're setting something up here that
Hmm.
Stamets is gonna. I don't know. Hopefully,
Well,
they
he
weren't setting something up for season 6.
oh god, if they were, we're in trouble.
Uh,
Yeah, Stamets is good at sciencing, so
mhm.
he's gonna come up with something else brilliant. So, honestly, I it's I understand why they took that direction, but it hurts. It hurts to
Mhm.
to to mean that there's not gonna be any more ships with Spore Drive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to see this pathway drive in action though, and how that works.
Yes, I would like to see that.
Uh, well, um, So from there, we've got Burnham being pulled away, first by the president to kind of hobnob with some delegates, but then by Vance to meet with Kovich in the Infinity Room, which, this was pretty cool. Vance or Kovich is kind of like, yeah, the dramaticness of it, I don't know, whatever. But it's kind of neat.
Is it like a pocket dimension or something? I just don't
That's
even
my
know.
guess. I don't know, but I kind of like it. It's one of those things that's emblematic a bit of the 32nd century stuff where like
Mm,
there should feel like stuff that is kind of so far beyond us that we don't really get it, you know?
agreed,
I
agreed.
kind of like that.
Yeah. I was just, well, okay, what is this? And I didn't even really think about it that hard until the second time that I watched it, I thought, "I bet that's a pocket dimension."
Hmm.
But how do you create a pocket dimension? Or do you
Very
find a pocket
carefully.
dimension? Yes, or do you find a pocket dimension and create a door to it? Or
Hmm.
and so, then my brain goes down the rabbit hole of all of those things that actually don't quite matter in the great scheme of the episode.
Yeah, it's like the old joke about when I think it was Andre Bermanis, the old science advisor, was asked how the Heisenberg compensator and the transporter works, and he said, "Very well, thank you."
Excellent. I love it.
Hmm.
I needed that good laugh. Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome. Well, yeah, so they get this mission. There's this 800-year-old science vessel. We later find out it's a Romulan science vessel
Dun, dun,
that's been
dun.
found in the Beta Quadrant. Something aboard is vital to the security of the Federation. It's all very secretive and hush hush, and Kovich ain't given very much of a clue here. But Discovery is going to jump immediately and later be joined by the USS Antares. And this is a red directive. So it's a very important mission. Drop everything and get this done no matter the cost, kind of thing.
Yeah, that never goes well, especially with keeping all of this secrecy. It's like, did you think that you weren't gonna have to tell other people, Kovich? Did you? Because you have to know that that is never going to be the way it goes. You are going to have to tell people so that they understand the stakes and can do their
Mhm.
jobs appropriately.
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the episode, he kind of implies that he has this other team that he's going to use and was, probably telling them a bit more. But Burnham has some information that she's able to kind of leverage to be the team, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, I like that. I I never thought of this, but again, this is just jumping right to the end of the episode. The fact that Discovery wasn't going to be the one to undertake this mission until Burnham did that, even that is kind of a nice little tweak to the usual formula of Discovery where for better or for worse, they are the ones, right? That are needed or necessary or assumed to be the people who are going to solve everything. But I like that there was this other team that was going to handle it, and it was only Burnham kind of asserting herself and getting in there that had them take the mission. That's kind of cool.
Well, and he was kinda tentative about it because he said that something to the effect that he was putting together a team, and that's when she said, "You have a team."
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Yeah,
"Why are you putting together something when you already have the best team?"
exactly. Absolutely. The show's not Star Trek Kovich's team. Come on, people.
It does make me wonder if he was gonna put the Antares on it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get there, but I think by that point, Rayner wasn't too long in the center seat any longer of that ship. But
Oh, we'll talk about Rainer.
yeah, we have thoughts on Rayner. I'm excited for that. So yeah, pretty quickly we're gonna catch up to where we were at the beginning of the episode. We go see this Romulan ship. These two antagonists, Mole and Locke, have beaten them there though. And I'm curious your thoughts on these two because I am really fascinated by them. Like early on, we kind of, got images and I was like, oh, generic bad guys or something. But I don't know. There's something about these two that I'm really enjoying. I like their back and forth. I like their relationship. Locke has this like very protective nature over Mole. Not to mention Locke's an unknown species we've never seen before. And what's up with his head when he takes that helmet off and it's like transparent and kind of amorphous before it solidifies? What's
I
going on there? What's his
I don't
deal?
know. Is it I don't know. Is it a holographic projection that he's using to look like someone else?
That
Or
maybe, yeah.
I don't know. What I first thought about Maul and Locke was, okay, so they're on the outside of the law, obviously.
Mhm.
And I also thought these 2 will care about each other and no one else.
Mhm.
No one else. They are there for each other. They have each other's backs in all things, and no one else is going to get between them. And that's
I
pretty
like
much what I thought.
I love this theory. I've not heard this one yet.
So, Hale, thank you for being
Hmm.
here for one thing, and also thank
Absolutely.
you for that. Yep.
That's
Now I'm
great.
just gonna call him Murph from now on. He's no longer Locke, he's Murph now.
I love it. And also, yeah, Bonnie and Clyde vibe. I agree with that totally. I think that's kind of the model they're using there a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, curious what's going on. So in this opening scene, they're pretty antagonistic. They're doing the vamping thing when they're confronted and uh, manage to incapacitate Owo and Reese and send Burnham flying through the hull. Luckily, their away team uniforms can throw up a spacesuit pretty fast. That's cool technology. I like that. And then yeah, we catch up to where we were at the start, where she's hitching a ride on this ship at warp, clinging to its back, basically. Kind of like that.
Yeah, it's very cool, and she's getting a little bit of a thrill out of it.
Yeah.
For a few seconds until, the warp bubble is starting to destabilize the warp
Hmm.
field, and it's destabilizing quickly, and, that's when things get serious.
Yeah. So we've got the Antares has finally caught up with them and is grabbing them in a tractor beam, and it's, the warp field's going to destabilize. It's going to take out that ship and the Antares, and Burnham finally convinces Rayner to let them go and they'll be able to track them. And then this I mean, we kind of saw this scene earlier because it was also released as a little separate scene
Mm.
before the season started, actually like almost a year ago now. um, and this whole bug on the windshield bit with Burnham, they're trying to lock onto her and beam her aboard, and it's like she's a good meter from that window before she beams in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that little kind of like huff of air where she sits down in the captain's chair is like, ooh, I think I'd be taking about a week to recover from that. But it was a cool effect. I enjoyed it.
I did too, and I liked how it was just kinda like she's flying towards Discovery, and now she's just walking onto the bridge, and how seamless that all is. I love that.
Mhm. Yeah, that was great. But Mole and Locke get away and they spin off a bunch of little drones that all go to warp, and with all these false sensor or warp trails, I guess. Um, this was one bit where in the back of my mind, and I really admire them for doing this because they really challenged my expectations. Right before they go to warp, they do this like fun little spin with the warp engines, and they spin and go to warp. And in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking like, oh man, like stop doing things just to make it look cool. Like there's no good reason that they would do that. But they challenged my expectations, like I said, because in the next episode, that gives like an interesting insight into their psychology and how they think and work together. And so I fully had to go like, okay, fair enough. You got me on that one. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I like their
Mhm.
ship and all the fun
Oh
little
yeah.
things it can do. And that's pretty much what I thought they were doing at the time. It was almost like they were taunting them, I think.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's I
absolutely.
I I read it as a taunt, and so it for me, it didn't have I mean, I thought it was different, but I thought, okay, well, that's what they're doing. They're taunting. That was the first thing that came to my mind. So I didn't look at it the same way, I guess. But anyway, I still think the ship is
Yeah.
really cool. I like the design. I like the the twirling engines. It's just,
Yeah.
I thought, oh man, you could do fun space shows, couldn't you? You could do some fun stuff with that. But no, you're gonna go rob things. So gonna go be
um,
outlaws or whatever.
I want to mention this as well because yeah, that threw me off, especially the second time I watched it. I was like, wait, I couldn't quite track where her hair was and all of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of programmable matter um, included with whatever product they use in her hair or something. I couldn't figure out what was going on there, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't notice because I just assumed that the hair would be down her back inside the suit. So,
Mhm.
you know,
That's kinda what I thought, but, like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's
Yeah.
a little weird, like, I feel like that would I don't know. I don't know how anyway, it was interesting. If you do pay close attention, like, from the front and the back, you will go like, "Wait."
You know, fair enough. Hadn't really thought about it until you brought it up. So now I'm gonna have to watch the episode again. Oh no. And then watch that
I think that's the answer.
Yes.
We'll get
Programmable
programmable
hair.
hair,
Oh, that that would make my life to have
right?
programmable hair. Oh, I could do my hair in 1 second. I could sleep so much longer in the morning. Give me programmable hair.
Absolutely. So yeah, they've gotten away for now, and Kovich isn't exactly pleased about that. He's come along on their mission, which was fun. I love David Cronenberg. I have no idea what his freaking job is, but I love him. Um, but Burnham says she knows somebody that'll help them find them, and I think we all knew who that was before he even showed up. And we get the return of Book, which is cool.
Yeah, that made me very happy. Of course, I expected to see him at some point. I just wasn't sure it was gonna be in the first episode.
Mhm.
Also, with Kovich on the bridge while Saru was in command, and Saru recommending he, go to the ready room or whatever, and he's like, "No, I'm fine." He's like, okay." He
He's like,
Saru was just like, "Mm, whatever." He had had it.
no. But, yeah, so we've got, Book on board. He figures out where they're going. He eliminates the distraction ones and figures they're going to this planet to meet Fred. Just Fred.
Just Fred. Fred.
Another four-letter name of a Sung-type android, which
Mhm.
was a interesting reveal, and, made me feel things because I've always thought that the Data character would have been very cool if he kind of was realized as this timeless character that lived for eons, and I was always really disappointed that that was not the direction they went with the character, although I guess they could now. He's back, so I guess maybe he can. But anyway, so it was fun to see that, like, oh yeah, there are, hundreds of years, like centuries old Sung type androids that kind of came out of the, I guess the group that we saw at the end of Picard season one that Alton Sung was involved with, right? So that was kind of cool. I appreciated that.
Yeah. Alton Soong seemed to be the least psychotic of the Soongs that we have seen. So,
Maybe, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm not saying he didn't have his own issues, but
yeah.
he wasn't the killy type of person as some were,
True.
so there was that. He didn't, try to create augments. He didn't I mean, yes, he helped create synths, but that was his family's work. That's what he did.
Hmm.
So, but, and he gave up his body that he was making for himself for Picard. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the least psychotic Soong that we have seen on screen so far.
It's a weird award, but I'm sure
I
he'll take
know.
it. Least
I hope he
psychotic
knows
soon.
it's meant with love. Like, I mean it with love.
Absolutely. Um, I will say though, like for a Sung type android, I felt he put in a little bit of a poor showing in the combat though. I mean,
Mm.
he is hundreds of years old, so maybe there's something there that, but I feel like Data would have done a lot better.
Well, I feel like Data would have had a working phaser that had been maintained and cleaned on a regular basis and didn't
Mm,
misfire when he tried to use it. That's one thing I can say.
I feel like even if Data did have that phaser, he still would have like leapt over that like if it wasn't working, he still would have leapt over that counter and taken care of business pretty quickly.
Mm, one would think, but, Fred has his own personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's lived hundreds of years, but he gets cut down here when yeah, so this Romulan puzzle box that they found in the vault, he opens it and quickly reads through this book and is like, "Oh, I'm going to lowball an offer for you." And they don't want to sell and he's like, "I'm just keeping it." Obviously something very important, very valuable. But yeah, he's killed. Him and his next to useless bodyguards are killed by Maul and Locke here, and that's the end of Fred.
Which is too bad because honestly, he was backed into a corner. If he I mean, obviously, he was killed because he lowballed it, but if he had given a high offer, that probably also would have made him suspicious. So, basically, any kind of offer that he could have made them, I don't even think that they were trying to get an offer, frankly. I
Mm,
think they were trying to figure out what they had so that they would know what the
mhm,
value was. So that was basically just their first try to see what they could find out and how, uh, expensive this item really was.
yeah. Well, I guess the lesson here, kids, is don't get involved in crime.
Yeah,
That's
don't, yeah, take a bite out of crime like McGruff.
yeah. There you go.
I don't know why I brought that up. I'm so sorry. Uh, yeah, everybody can tell now that I was born in the '70s. Anyway,
I love it. Uh, so yeah, they run out of there, but the trio of Book, Burn, and Rainer are pretty close on their tail, and they see what's going on. They be up, hoping that there can be clues there, and take off in pursuit and end up basically on these speeder bikes across the desert. Um, which
I would call them
big action
sandmobiles.
sequence. What did they actually called them something else, but I didn't see in my
I
notes
know.
quickly enough.
But that's what I called them because they are built like snowmobiles, but they were on sand, so they were sandmobiles.
Mhm. Sand runners. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
Sand runners. Um, so big action sequence number 2 of the episode, I guess, which I mean, it was well done, but it's a season premiere. I'm coming to expect this. It's okay. Just let it roll off my shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I it was interesting because we got a lot of insight into the kind of person that Rainer is during this
Mhm.
whole thing,
Absolutely.
and, yeah, he's, a man of few words and a lot of action, basically, from what we see in this particular sequence. Um, I thought I know that it's all, like 99% digital, but that avalanche, dude, that was done so well.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah.
absolutely believed that, and then the 2 ships just popping in, and I'm just like, I might cry, this is beautiful, and actually, I did cry because they saved the day in a totally unexpected way
Mhm.
by basically just, shoving their hulls in the ground, combining their shields, and protecting the settlement, and I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And all the people that didn't die, so I'm just like, I
Yeah.
get emotional at like that, we all know this. So,
Mhm.
and I can confess that every episode of Star Trek Discovery that I have seen, and that is including the screeners, I have cried at one point in every
Hmm.
single one so far. So this is a repeat of season 2 for me, which I cried in every
Oh, no.
episode of that. So,
Yeah. I I really appreciated the two starships rescuing the settlement from the avalanche, because it's something we've never seen in Star Trek before. And anytime, there's a lot of Star Trek,
Yeah.
anytime they can do something that's like, hey, that's new, haven't seen that before, that's pretty cool. I really appreciate that. So um
Yeah, it was a very inspired way to do something when you had no choice of what to do because of the environment and because of the settlement and all of these things, and so it just became this perfect storm of really cool visual effects that
mhm.
you've never seen before.
Yeah,
It's just yeah.
there was one line that, like, I rolled my eyes and then realized, okay, that's what they meant, I'm more okay with it. But there's these two civilians that are going to be caught by the avalanche, and they don't even, like, technobabble a reason why they can't lock onto them. Owoshikun says the sand is causing too much interference. Like, everything causes interference with the transporter. But then it was like, okay, they couldn't pinpoint the coordinates. And once
Mhm.
they had that, they were able to beam them up. I'm like, okay, all right, that's a little bit better. But like, just on the face of it, the line, the sand cloud is causing too much interference is what the actual line was. I'm like, oh no. These poor transporters, like, even in 1,000 years, it's like, oh no, sand.
Well, that's the thing, sand gets everywhere.
Hmm. And there is a line actually in the next episode that I think, like, very subtly is retroactively kind of covering for that a bit, when they're cleaning it out of the Discovery. And I think Saru says something about the radiometric properties of the sand continue to impress, or something like that.
Mhm.
Something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, there's more to this sand than they realized. But
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right.
Gotta get the dots busy on that because you can't just take Discovery and shake it until all the sand drops out.
I did love, and like I said, we're jumping all over. I did love when it jumped back to headquarters and there's just like this poof of sand
Classic.
around it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I loved it.
I wanted to see, like, Vance looking out the window being like, "Oh god, what did they do?"
He's probably already been advised of what happened.
Oh,
Oh, loved that scene. Loved it.
that was really good. Mole and Locke do get away though, because they had to rescue the settlement and had to basically turn their backs on them while they got away. Which Raynor, like, epic Starfleet captain pout. Like, he pouts about it and beams away. I was kind of like rolling my eyes a little bit at that, at just like, well, he's just so pouty.
He
Chill,
is.
dude, chill.
He if it doesn't get done his way, then he is not happy. That is
Hmm.
Raynor in a nutshell.
Yeah. As my younger cousin would say, he's got zero chill.
Mhm. 0 ch I don't know if I mean, even when he smiles, it's kind of terrifying.
Yes.
Like, when he's making fun of Book and Burnham being awkward with each other, and even when he's smiling at that, I'm just like, "That's the smile of a shark."
Yeah. Speaking of Burnham and Book, so that was a breakup,
Yep,
right?
it
That
was a
was
breakup.
that made me sad. And I mean, I know we've got a season. We've got a bunch of episodes to go. I'm hoping things will go in particular directions, but I I appreciated that moment. I'm glad they gave it that time. That
Mhm.
basically, a moment to have a breath in the episode, and we got that scene and stuff. So that was appreciated, but definitely sad for sure.
Well, the way that I look at it is that it's to me, it was, yeah, a breakup, but it was more of a not right now more than it
Mm.
was a not ever.
Right. Yeah. Or and
So
maybe even more of an acknowledgement of the status as it already is. They just haven't
mhm,
put words to it yet, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
people who are meant to be together will find their way back to each other no matter how long it takes.
Well, speaking of people who are meant to be together. I love that. Speaking of when Discovery spore drives in with the puff of sand, who's at the window watching but Tarina, and it starts to pull into space dock, and Saru's like already there.
Yep.
That was really sweet.
He wasn't
Um,
waiting.
no.
Yes.
And this was a conversation that I thought was going to go one way, just based on the opening lines, but totally went another way, and I really appreciated that. It challenged my expectations a bit because we've heard this sentiment in Star Trek before, where he starts talking to Serena or to Tarina. That's weird. To Tarina, and is saying like, "Oh, I was on the bridge of Discovery, and we were saving these lives." And in my mind, again, because we've heard this before from other characters, that's the moment they realize that I need to stay in Starfleet. I need to do the job that I'm doing because I can save lives. I can make a difference, right? Don't let them take you off the bridge of that ship. Blah, 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 blah. But he turns it around and says, it made me realize how quick life is and how easily it could be snuffed out. And you have to do what feels right. And therefore, I have to take into account my relationship with you when I make this decision. How could I not? And he ultimately says that he's decided to take the ambassadorial position he was offered, and in order to not just as not just to have the added benefit of being closer to her, but because he'll be closer to her is a huge reason why he needs to take that. So I really like that. I love that.
Yeah. It's one of these things that you see a lot in books and movies about people wanting to be together, but neither of them wants to give an inch in how to do that.
Mhm.
Because people are like, I'm not giving up this life. I'm not giving up this job for this person, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, it's not black and white. It's never black and white like that.
Mhm.
And you can, if you really want to be with someone and you also really want to have this job or live in this place or whatever it is that you think is coming between you, work it out. People do it
Mhm.
all the time, except in books and movies. Unless
Yeah.
it's a Hallmark movie. If it's a Hallmark movie, you better believe that they're always going to end up together somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. But I do also love that, like, Tarina said, "Oh, you can't let this factor into your decision." And Saru is strong enough to say, like, "No, like, it is a primary factor in the decision, and that's the way it is. Like, I can't not do that." At which point, Tarina decides that they must codify their mutual commitment, as I put in my name, because I just love that romantic language of hers.
Mhm. Well, just the look on her face when he says that, and I'm like, because I love Tarina's almost smile.
Mhm.
It's not quite a smile, but it's right on the edge, and she just does it so perfectly.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. So she basically proposes to Saru, and Saru is so sweet. I love these 2. So they're gonna get married. Speaking of Tarina's, like, half almost smile, we didn't talk about this moment earlier in the episode when, like, it's obvious something's on Saru's mind when he's thinking about this, career change, and Tarina's joking with him, it's like, "Do I need to mind meld it out of you?" They're teasing with each other is so cute.
It made me so happy, It's just it's one of those cute things that you just don't expect from a Vulcan, and the fact that she would do that with him because,
Mhm.
you know, people have said it before, and I don't think we really understand it until we find it, that home is not a place, it's a person
Mhm.
or people or family, and they have that with each other. Saru has never experienced this level of that before. He has never been in a romantic relationship,
Yeah.
and so this is kinda all new to him, and he's actually navigating it pretty well considering that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, the cultural differences must be huge, right? But, they're doing very well, I think.
I think they're doing very well too, and this was actually my greatest hope is that they would be together forever.
Mhm. Well, I guess we need to talk about the big thing that, and so this is funny. We can share this now that the episodes have aired, but it was really funny getting the screener copies of these episodes, and it was like there was a big warning on it. It said, specific plot details can only be shared after the passing of a certain time on the day that it airs. Episode titles can be revealed then. Do not reveal the connection to the TNG episode The Chase to give people a chance to and I was like, oh wow, they wanted to keep that very secret, but the cat's out of the bag now, of course. um, I love that episode. That's one of my favorite episodes of TNG. And I've always thought that it would make a great framework for a season of television. Like that whole episode in 43 minutes would have made a great season of trying to assemble all these clues and getting that big life-changing message at the end. And that's kind of the framework that Discovery is borrowing with some aspect of these progenitors, their technology, right? The first humanoids who created the humanoid form in the Milky Way galaxy, or propagated it anyway. I'm really curious to see where this all goes. That was really cool.
I agree. I didn't see that coming, and I actually didn't really read that warning because I'm like, yeah, I know the warnings. I'm not going to say anything ever before the
Mm.
episodes are released. And so I was blindsided when that came up.
Mhm.
And I was just looking at Dave and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I luckily didn't read that till after I'd watched that first episode too, but yeah, that was great. And even the nice little touches, like when they show the picture of Picard, there's just a little hint of the Star Trek Picard theme underneath,
Mhm.
which I
Just a
thought was
tiny
a
bit.
yeah, nice little touch.
I
Um,
you know, I love I love the show so much, y'all know that. But I think, honestly, it has one of the best musical scores of any of the series, and I also think that its opening credits
mm,
are the best of any of the recent series. That's just my personal feeling because one thing I noticed, and I could be mistaken, 'cause I need to rewatch it, but I feel like I noticed something in the opening credits that changed, when I watched another episode. One little thing had changed, but I need to go back and rewatch the opening credits of episodes 1 and 2 to be certain.
hmm. Okay. I didn't notice a difference between the two episodes,
Yeah,
but
it might be something that, that I didn't notice before. I have to be sure that because I have seen episodes 3 and 4, I have to be sure whether it's something that changed in episode 2 or if it's something that changed in episode 3 or if it's something that
hmm,
changed at all. So, I'm gonna go back and research that after we're done here.
interesting. Okay, well, more to
Yeah.
come on that. I'm excited. Uh, So yeah, that's of course the big mystery of the season. We've got this thing to do with the progenitors, um, and this Dr. Velik, we find out, was present during those events and was doing the research into all of this. Um, I'm excited for a lower stakes season, although, we can't let this fall into the wrong hands, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty high stakes, but so far, anyway, they haven't done the like all of life is at risk immediately if Discovery doesn't do something, which I'm appreciating for sure. And to match that, a couple of people in the comments have already mentioned the music in this, which feels more fanfare-y, more brassy, more sprightly, more kind of adventure-esque rather than, epic space opera, more yeah, adventure-y and light in that way. And I really appreciate that. I it sets a really cool tone for this as well.
Yes, very exciting, and I know people have been talking about this in the chat, and I'm sure we'll get into it a bit more when we get into the season more, but I'm so happy that Tilly is back. I'm so
Yes.
happy, so happy. She's my queen, and her flirting with that guy. I wanna know about that guy. Who is that guy? And how she's still thinking about complex things while she's drunk.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just my
And
queen.
and and some not so complex things sometimes too.
That too.
I loved her like, "Oh, I can't how can I get all these kids to work together? I can't crash them all on an ice moon. Can I? No, I can't."
Which is funny. It's funny because the picture for April on our Discovery calendars
Yep.
is them crashed on an ice.
Nice little remembrance of that, yeah.
The thing is that they couldn't have known that this was when the episode was going to air. It's just like perfection.
It was perfect. That was really good. Um, yeah, it's great to see Tilly back. I love her part in this too, where she's kind of, trying to find things out for Burnham, and Starfleet security gets on her back almost immediately. Vance, though, it's like, wow, it's too bad we weren't able to stop you before you opened the file. And then he just goes ahead and does it himself. That was great.
Mhm. I love it. I love Vance.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't I don't think any of us were really sure about him when he first came on the scene, but man, he sure cemented his place in my heart.
Absolutely. Me too. He's one of my favorite admirals of all time now. If not my favorite, maybe.
I think that I'm with you on that. I can't think of an admiral that I've loved more.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's kind of it for the for oh,
Oh,
unless
Cornwell, Admiral
yeah,
Cornwell, Admiral Cornwell.
I liked her, but I think Vance edges her out for me just a little bit because she had her hands a little bit dirty with Section 31, just a little bit.
Okay, that
But
is
that's
fair.
okay.
But she also was a therapist and she helped Hugh a lot.
That's true. She was
So,
awesome. Like, she's very high up there for me. I've always
mhm.
loved Cornwell for sure.
Yeah,
But
I even made a special shirt that, says, "You have no idea what I'm thinking." 'Cause, there's that thing where she comes aboard, Discovery and Pike's saying, "And now you may think," and she says, "You have no idea what I'm thinking."
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like, don't ever assume you know what someone is thinking, especially a woman.
Oh, you know what I'm so excited for now is a total series rewatch. I'm looking forward to
Same.
that.
Same. I've been thinking about that and thinking that I'm going to definitely do that. Not thinking that I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. Really
Yeah.
am.
This was a yeah, that was sweet where he's like,
Mhm.
brushing
And
up on his geometry to help his kid with their math. Yeah.
picking up her socks off the off the table in the
That was
living room.
cute.
Just so dad. It was just, oh, he's the best Admiral I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we can just move on to episode 2. We can do our final thoughts and all of that stuff at the very end. Unless you had final thoughts for episode 1 you want to share.
Nope. Nope. I think we can do them all at the end of episode 2.
Okay. So, episode 2, Under the Twin Moons. This is kind of billed basically as Saru's final mission on Discovery because he's going to be off to become an ambassador. Um, but before we get to that mission and stuff, we kind of start with this inquiry into the events of the last episode, which I loved this scene. And Captain Raynor is doing himself no favors in this. But I did appreciate Burnham kind of being reluctant to answer directly the president's question about, did she agree with his decision that, led to the bad guys doing the thing, blah, blah, blah. Um, but I also liked Vance saying, like, we appreciate that, but answer the question. And Rayner, there's so much going on in the scene, like him basically saying like, "Oh, you're free to speak your mind in the mission. Say it now." And you think he's going to kind of quietly sit there while she says, and she like starts saying, blah blah blah, and he's like jumps in, he's like, "Ah, but blah blah blah." Like, dude, zero chill. I love him though.
Zero chill. I no, I do too, honestly, and I love the actor, and this is
Mhm.
actually I haven't seen him in a while because I don't necessarily watch a lot of the same things that he's been in, but I very, very strongly remember him from Battlestar Galactica as the
Absolutely.
Cylon who wanted to force Starbuck to love him. So
Yep.
So yeah, there was that, and he was very good at that. And I liked him back then. So yeah, I was actually really happy to see him again.
Yeah, me too. And he's a great actor.
Yes.
Yeah, not agreeing with anything he's doing or saying right now, but like he's playing the part really well. I also did appreciate Burnham kind of sort of sticking up for him in the conversation with Vance afterwards, and
Mhm.
Vance appreciating that because he's old friends with Captain Rayner, and you can tell he's troubled by the position he's in and having to deal with this and having to tell his friend he's wrong and making bad
Mhm.
decisions and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's I can see his point of view, but his point of view, unfortunately, is very small and doesn't really encompass the situation as a whole, and I think
mhm.
that's where his weakness is. He focuses on a specific thing, and he is like a dog with a bone. He is not going to let that thing go until he knows everything about it, and meanwhile, he's missing all of these other things that are context for this one thing he's focused on.
Yeah.
He's a very single-minded person, and
Mhm.
you always know where you stand with him, which can be good or bad, but he lacks, what is the word that I'm looking for here? Personal connection.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think my favorite Rayner moment actually in these first 2 episodes, well, actually, no, it's later in this episode, but up to this point, my favorite Rayner moment was in the last episode, and it's the only time you see his veneer of complete self-confidence crack a little bit. And that's when, he orders Antares to fire on the cave. The avalanche doesn't happen, and he's 70% for the win. Yeah. And they're like, oh, the other guys are targeting the mountain now. And it's for a split second, it's on him. He goes, what? Like he didn't even think of it.
Mhm.
And he in that moment is like, oh crap. Like he realizes
Yep.
that he overlooked that. He didn't think of that. Um, and it's brief, and he doesn't sit with it, he doesn't reflect on it, but it does happen. So yeah, that's my favorite moment so far, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. And the end of this episode we'll talk about what happens with him and stuff, because even though it's something I saw coming, I appreciated how it was done. It was really well done. So anyway, we'll
I
get there.
agree. I agree completely.
So, yeah, they go to this planet with the twin moons that Burnham has figured out, is the one that's referenced in this book. They have to beam in far away from where they figure everything is, because of this EM field, which gives time for some really great Burnham and Saru conversations, which it's kind of an interesting coincidence that they had written in this Saru plot line where he's leaving Discovery, because I feel like that's where they mined a lot of the like, oh look, we're talking like it's the last season in that trailer that came out, when it's actually just Saru leaving Discovery. But it works really well for a final season. I think it gives them a chance to kind of reflect on how far Burnham's come, where she was when she came aboard, and where her relationship with Saru was when she first came aboard, and how that has grown. And I really appreciate these conversations. They're a lot of fun.
I agree. I love Saru and Burnham together at any time, but especially when it's just the two of them and they're just being friends.
Mhm.
And that was something I don't know that I ever thought I would completely see in the series, simply because of season 1.
Yeah.
But, and if you haven't read the book about Saru, you guys, you should really, because
Mm. Yeah.
I know that they're not canon, but it gives a lot of insight into the character that you don't get on screen. So,
Yeah. Definitely. I always think back to whenever I think of Burnham and Saru's relationship, I always think of the episode Context is for Kings,
mhm.
where they're in the corridor and Saru turns to Burnham and says, "You are someone to be feared." And I'm just like, ugh. Like, what a starting place. Well, not a starting place. They had a relationship earlier, but what a place to like build from there to where they are now. It's incredible, really.
It is. I love it, and I love the continuity of Discovery and how they've woven all of these things together to get where we are now, and
Mhm.
I'm sure going back and rewatching season 1 is going to be a shock, really, knowing what we know now, but it's also going to be enlightening because each season improves upon the context for the seasons that are past, and you find new context in rewatching those older episodes.
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. I can't wait.
Same.
So, also Saru's grave disappointment pun, which was unintentional.
That was great.
That was really good. Was that a pun? An unintentional one? Um,
Yeah.
but throughout all of this too, Saru is coming across as this, like, seasoned veteran of Discovery character, which, like, again, if you think of where he came from in those early days to where he is now, like, I really love that as well with, you know, getting the nickname Action Saru, for example, but, also just the way he carries himself and, um, like, he truly is this really seasoned officer who's seen a lot, but is also at this point where he's ready to move on to take on a new challenge, and I think that's a fun thing for Doug Jones to get to play, and it comes
Mm.
across really well here.
Yeah, the I realized this today, and the only positive thing I can see coming out of Discovery ending, with this season is that maybe finally we will get some of those actors at FanX here in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
I would kill to meet Doug Jones.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So yet kind of the action sequence of this episode, which is these drones, this security system coming to life. And I've said this in a couple other reviews that I've given and in the podcast and stuff. There's a couple moments in this where, like any Star Trek situation where this happens, there's a time where like the bad guys, in this case the drones, have them dead to rights, but the plot armor protects them.
Mhm,
um I don't think it's egregious in this episode. What I will say in this episode that I love is whoever did the on-set pyro and stuff like that, it comes across really well in this episode. There's a couple times like where Saru dives behind the thing or Burnham is shielding herself. I was like, "Oh, that felt very close and very real." Like that was well
mhm.
done.
I agree, I agree. I didn't even question it. I didn't even
Mm,
question it, not
yeah.
even consciously. There was nothing about it that made me go, "Oh, fake." I was
Yeah.
just looking around. I basically, the only thing I said is like, "Wow, they're really shooting up Canada right now, guys."
Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, I hope they have the fire department very close by for that."
Yeah, but I thought it afterwards. I wasn't really thinking about it during.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one part where, and I mean, every Star Trek does this. This is nothing new, but at the very end, when Burnham is, the things haven't quite discharged, it hasn't quite knocked it out yet. The drones fly around and like face Saru, and they like stare at each other for a moment. And I'm like, these things could just fire and kill him right now, but we're getting a moment of tension before they shut down. I'm like, okay, but that's par for the course for Star Trek. That's nothing new or different for Discovery.
I do love how she had set the phaser to overload and stuck it in the hole, and then another drone came, so she pulled it back out, turned it off, shot, and then turned it back on overload and stuffed it back in the hole. I liked that. That was really well done.
That was a nice touch too. Oh, the other thing, speaking of phasers, this is jumping back to episode 1, but I didn't note, like I must have just looked away at the wrong moment the first time I watched it. When I watched it the second time, when they're on the Romulan ship and she's got her hand phaser, she like twists her hand and like broop, turns it into a
Mhm.
rifle, and I was like,
Yep.
"Whoa,
I
that's
love
cool."
that. Love that.
That was neat. I like these phasers.
Me
And I
too.
like even after, they overload it, they've just got the little thing on their hand. They can just make another one.
Mhm. That's just so cool. It's just like, shake your hand, phaser.
Yeah.
Just cool.
Oh, so yeah, they manage to overcome that. They get to the building, and they find out that Maul and Locke have already been there, and they've phasered away the rock, basically where the clue was. But again, Saru coming in with his Kelpian heightened senses can, see these luminescent bacteria microbes that are filling the where the letters used to be, and they're able to figure out the message that way. But just the four stanzas so far, that nice little continuity bit, that like opaline waters and minds that join. I'm like, oh, opaline waters, that's a reference to the opal sea on Beta Z, which was mentioned in, I think, Star Trek Nemesis, which I was like, wow, that's a very, they didn't even like highlight it deeply and say like, wow, the opal sea is on Beta Z, therefore. I just love how casual it was, like opaline waters and minds that touch makes me think of Beta Z. But I like that, I appreciated that.
Yeah, me too. I appreciated them remembering that Saru has a broader scope of visual acuity than most races. So we don't really get to see him use it that much, and I appreciated that he got to use it there. I also appreciate that he gets to use his strength
His
in this
strength
episode.
and his super speed.
His super speed, man, booking it like the bionic woman. I'm telling you, just
That's great.
cruising.
Oh, that was fun. I haven't seen that in a while, so that was good. But yeah, so yeah, he pushes the thing back because they remember the thing about Romulans with the false front door. A bit of continuity from Picard there. And that fifth stanza, that kind of points them in the direction of Trill, we find out later. Plus this chunk of map, it turns out, that's also kind of squirreled away down there. Very cool.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
So that's kind of quick and dirty what they were doing in their mission. We've also got other stuff going on in this episode, which is, of course, Book being assigned to Discovery, not just for that one mission, but now he's going to tag along with them to kind of get inside the heads of these two criminals, Maul and Locke, which he does a very good job of in this episode. We also should mention the obligatory grudge scene, which was great. It's like, I didn't bring the mouse for grudge. I brought it for you. That was funny. Um,
Yeah, definitely a grumpy cat that just meow that she does. He
um,
couldn't have timed it better.
no, totally. Yeah, absolutely. I also really like the reunion between Book and Culber. I love that he goes in,
Yes.
for the, casual greeting, and Culber comes in with the hug. That was great. That's so Culber.
It is so Culber. I love Culber so much, and, it's I knew that's exactly what was gonna happen. He was going for, like, the bro handshake, and Culber's like, "No. No, I'm just gonna ignore that. You're getting hugs, buddy."
Yeah, that was really sweet. But yeah, so like I was talking about that little fancy pants style points maneuver from the last episode, that's what clues Book into what kind of people they are. They're thrill seekers, they dangle from the cliff's edge kind of thing. And um, he's going to use that. He's going to contact them and try and get them to stand down. And this whole aspect of what's going on with the two of them, I did not see coming. I wasn't expecting this kind of personal connection here, but he recognizes, I think it's a tattoo on Mole, and has Zora de-age the image of her and realizes she's the daughter of Cleveland Booker the Fourth, who is his like namesake and mentor. So as he says, the closest thing to family he has now that, of course, Quajon has been destroyed and stuff. So that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that connection there.
I wasn't either. I was just thinking it was somebody he'd met while he was being a courier.
Mhm.
and that's why they looked familiar, but I didn't expect this deeper connection, and it's interesting to see her face when he says his name,
Yes. Mhm.
because this is before he's figured out who she is, and so he says his name, and it's interesting to watch her reaction. It's kind of a micro expression. It's not
Yeah.
really blatant, but
It's
she
almost like a
definitely yeah.
flick of cold water in her face, like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was, very interested by that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where that goes because yeah, interesting. Um, and so her name's Meline, I think,
Yes,
is what
Moline.
he says, yeah. Which always now it's in my head, Meline, Meline. No, anyway, to the
No, don't
to the
talk
tune
about
of Jo okay, yeah,
Jolene.
okay.
No, no, we don't talk about Jolene.
I only really like that song because my cousin sings an incredible cover of it, and she's really good. But anyway, yeah, not my favorite song either, but she sings it very well. Um, so that's yeah, I have no idea where that's going to go, but yeah. So Saru is leaving. He's packing up his quarters, except he's leaving his plants and stuff, and warns Burnham, of course, not to touch the what was it? The kelp shoot. Don't touch the swamp kelp while it's in bloom, which was the
Mhm.
same warning he gave Tilly before. I really want to know what happens.
Me too.
I loved because we recently rewatched season 4 with some friends of mine, and I love that scene where he first tells Tilly that, and she's like, "Oh," and like immediately goes to touch it, and Saru just about has a heart attack. Oh, Saru just about has a heart attack, and Tilly's like, "I'm kidding."
Yeah, that scene, that was the scene that made me cry in episode 2, was,
Mhm.
the last time in his quarters.
Yeah. And this is where they talked about it earlier in the episode, but they bring up second chances, how Burnham got a second chance and all of this. Um, which after that, we see she's going to go talk to Vance about Rayner, what's going on with Rayner. And Vance is upset because he basically has told Rayner that he should take an early retirement. He should quit and that's all will be done, kind of thing. But this idea of second chances is going through Burnham's head. And I love the moment that you see on her face. She has the aha moment. And then she goes to talk to Rayner. And this is the scene that I love where I'm really like Rayner. And as soon as she walked in, I knew where this was going, where what was going to happen was she was going to offer him the first officer position. But I loved how surprised Rayner was by it. And I really like that. Like, we know Burnham and we know what she's going to do, but Rayner was completely floored by it. But I think it's a good fit. I think it's going to work. As he says, he's not going to be a yes man, and Burnham's counting on that. I think this could be a really interesting relationship going forward.
It can, if he can get his head out of his butt for a minute, he
Yes, he has some growth to do for
he does
sure.
he does. He thinks he doesn't. He thinks he's fine the way he is, but he has some room to grow. He definitely has some room to grow, and I'm here for it. I am
Yes.
totally here for it 'cause, uh, I think that this character probably rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but I just remind myself of another captain that totally rubbed me the wrong way, and by episode 3 of season 3 of Picard, I was ready to die for him. So I'm
Yep.
I'm keeping a much more open mind. And I think Rayner is a good man. I do. And I think that he needs to let go of the reins.
Mm,
And it's gonna take him some time to adjust to that.
yeah. It just occurred to me we need like a Star Trek Thunderbolts type series that's just like a
Yes.
crew made up of redeemed jerks.
Oh, let's do it. I love
Totally.
it.
Well, we've got Rayner and we've got Shaw. I'm sure we can come up with a whole bunch more.
Mhm. Yep. How they all end up in the same time, doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's throw, Admiral
Make it work.
Nechayev in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nichev, yeah, hell yeah. Let's do it.
Totally.
I'm in.
Anyway, yeah, I'm all for that. I'm really excited to see where that goes. I think that's gonna be an interesting dynamic. I'm also and I haven't seen any episodes beyond this. I'm hoping Saru is still a big part of the series. I don't know, and I'm not asking because I know you shouldn't give anything away, but, um, yeah, I'm curious about that because, yeah, I don't know. I hope we see some ambassadorial stuff from him. I don't want
Well,
this to be the last we see of him and Tarina doing their thing.
I know. Well, see, that's the thing. He's kind of been an ambassador before when he went back to Kaminar.
Kaminar, yeah.
So he's got experience in this, and there's no way that they're going to give us all this Tarina, Saru, and ambassador stuff and not come back to it. They wouldn't
Right.
do that.
Yeah.
Saru is a big deal in this show. I mean, he's
Mhm.
a big deal. So I really, even knowing what I know, even before I knew what I knew, knew that they weren't going to just disappear him, that he would
Mhm.
still be a part of
Yeah.
this season in a big way.
I will say though, just as a parallel, in season 4 when and I mean, I know there were other reasons for that and that sort of thing, but when they said, "Oh, Tilly's gonna go teach at the academy," I was like, "Oh, maybe we'll see some academy stuff alongside the Discovery stuff," and it's like, "Oh, no, she just doesn't show up again till the finale." It's, "Oh, okay." I know this I'm assuming this situation is different. I haven't heard anything like
Yeah.
what happened in season 4, but, yeah.
I feel like it may have been that Mary Wiseman had another commitment.
That's what I yeah, and that's what the thing was, like, afterwards, I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I heard, okay, she there's this thing
because
and blah, blah, blah."
they did the same thing with the, um I I hate getting old because I can see faces, I know names, and yet I can't recall them when I need to at very most. Our, communications guy, that
Um,
disappeared in season 4.
yeah, Bryce is
Yeah,
Bryce,
thank
right?
you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Bryce. Yeah. Yeah, that kinda happened with him too because he also had another commitment, and it seems to be the case also for season 5, 'cause,
Mhm.
I think he has a regular gig on another series.
Right, yeah. Um, I'm just reading the comments and I'm appreciating everyone putting together their Thunderbolts Star Trek team. We've got Admiral Jellicoe, we've got Tom Riker, um,
Yes.
Garth of Izar. Yep. Um, I agree, Peanut Hamper. Peanut Hamper could be part of that, absolutely.
That could
Um,
work.
you could even bring in Agamus as, like, a consultant every once in a while or
Oh,
something.
please, yes.
Yeah,
Give me more
right?
Agamus, I'm there. Just give me more anything, any Jeffrey Combs character, just give it to me.
Totally, totally. Uh, oh, yeah, that's a good call. You need Peanut Hamper on the Space Thunderbolts. You need at least one member where you're never quite sure whether they'll do another heel turn. Yep,
Yep,
totally.
yep. That's absolutely correct.
Ooh, whoops. Michael Eddington. Interesting,
Yes,
interesting.
fascinating.
I like it.
Mm.
I
You
like
were
it.
never you were never Valjean. Sorry. I'm never gonna let that go.
You know what we need to do? We need to submit a proposal to IDW
Yep.
because, oh my
Oh,
god.
oh, they could do it in the comics.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
oh. Yes, yes, yes. Let's work on our proposal.
Yes. I love it. Well, one thing we didn't mention, I like the fact that they linked this to the Promelians from
Mm,
TNG, like, they were 1,000 years old at the time of TNG, so another 2,000 years old. Um, I'm liking the little references sprinkled throughout and stuff. So,
yeah.
from the TNG episode Booby Trap, it should be said.
Yes. Of course. I'm not good at remembering episode names, it's just like that one with the thing.
No.
I can describe the plot to you, but I can't tell you what the episode was called most of the time.
I'm pretty good with titles. It's the people that are like season 3 episode 16. I'm like, I don't know what number it is. I can tell you the season, but
Mhm. Yeah, I can't even do that. I'm just like, The Chase. I think that was maybe season 6? Don't
it was
know.
season 6.
Didn't look it up. Didn't look it up. I did wonder though, because, they referenced Velik, and obviously that was an actor that didn't seem to have, uh, any lines that I recall, but I haven't watched the episode in a long time. And then we see the hologram of
Yeah.
and I'm wondering, is that the same
The same
actor?
actor? That's a
I there
I
was
didn't think of
I
it.
c I couldn't find out. I couldn't find out because
Oh,
he's not listed. His name is not listed in the credits for the original episode, The
of
Chase,
course.
so I had no way to know.
Yeah, he would have just been an extra. Well, at the time an extra, now they call them background actors, but at
Yeah,
the yeah, he wouldn't have been credited.
yeah.
Interesting.
I just wonder. I want to know because this time he had speaking lines,
Yeah.
and IMDb was not helpful on the cast list for the episode of Discovery either, so I am at a dead end.
Hmm. Now I'm really curious. I'm like, there's gotta be a way to find that out. That's
You would
cool.
think so.
Um, Uncredited co-stars. Oh, they wouldn't have the name though. It would just be
Yeah.
hmm. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can figure that out, but I probably won't have any more luck than you did.
Well, you might think of something that I haven't, so it could
Uh,
be.
well, I guess with that, let's talk final thoughts on both of these episodes and ratings, I guess. What are your final thoughts? How do you think this does as in its job of kicking off season 5? There we go. I have words.
Well, yeah, apart from the niggles we already spoke about in the premiere episode, I am fully invested in this storyline, and I want to see where it goes. And, it's basically a season-long version of The Chase, but it's different at the same time. And, I wonder how long it's gonna take for them to get all 5 pieces, because we know that somebody's going to get all 5 of the pieces at some point, but will it be Discovery and the Federation, or will it be Maul and Luck? Maul and Locke? I don't know. I
Mhm.
wanna know more about Locke. Um, I wanna know who he is. I actually, know the actor, from about 50 million voiceover jobs that he's done. Like, "Oh my god, he's been in this, and this, and this, and this,
Hmm.
and this." Animation, video games, you name it, he's done it. He has been very prolific in his time.
Oh, interesting.
So I want to know more about Locke, but I've really enjoyed both of these episodes. I'm so happy to have this show back, even though I'm not gonna have it forever. And I really it was one of those things that when we got the screeners, Dave and I were just like, we've got to watch the next one. We've got to watch the next one. And when we got to the last one, we're just like, yeah, damn it. But I'm really excited. I think it's a great way to go out, even that's not what they intended to do. And
Mm.
I give this one giant drunk flirty Tilly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the best rating you could possibly give. Absolutely. Yeah, I was really impressed with how this season kicked off. I just love these characters so much, and
Me too.
I've loved growing with them over the last few years, and I'm not ready to say goodbye to them, but if we have to, we have to, I guess. But uh, it how do I put this? It feels like Discovery has its big boy pants on in this season. Like everyone is so sure of their character. Everything is it feels so competently put together. I'm, you know, there's the little niggles, like you said, but pretty universal for Star Trek, and more so even for Star Trek in the modern era. There's going to be sensibilities that us older folks are going to kind of roll our eyes at a little bit, but I still enjoy it, the heck out of it, for what it is. Um, and yeah, I think it's a really strong start to the season. I think I enjoyed Under the Twin Moons a little bit more than the premiere episode. That seems to be just kind of a pattern for me. Like, I like okay, we're settled into a groove here, we're exploring the mystery, we don't have to have big action set pieces every 10 minutes kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to give this, I'm going to say one really big discovery coming to rescue Burnham by like shoving the Antares out of the way a little bit. I see what you did there, Detmer. I saw what you did there. That was great.
Loyal to her captain.
Absolutely. So, yeah, just getting the last few ratings here. Yeah, so I guess next week we'll be talking about the episode Janal. That's episode 3, just one episode. Be a little shorter than this episode probably. But yeah, really looking forward to that. And then the one after that, the title I love, Face the Strange. I mean, I love a good reference like that. So that makes me happy. I'm curious what that's about. It's going to be an interesting season for sure, and I look forward to talking about it with all of you. So, with that, Brandi, where can people find you? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, nothing.
This is not nothing.
This is the thing I'm already doing. So you already know that I'm doing this. So I don't have to talk about this because we're doing it. It's
Fair.
like that. It's like that scene in Spaceballs. This is now. Now? When? Now. Well, when did this happen? Just now. Sorry. Anyway, can't ever skip a good Spaceballs reference. Anyway, did Dan freeze? Have I lost Dan, or is it me that's frozen?
It's me. It was me.
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, this is happening now." No, it's not. Oh no. The timing could not have been better with that. That was great. Oh my god.
I can't. It's already. I can't go back to then. It's already now. So, um, anyway, X, Twitter. I'm not going to ever call it X, and they're selling
No,
your private
gross.
information. Great. There's Brandi Wine 12. I don't care about that anymore. Really. Let's see. Mastodon is Brandywine at ravenation.club. Yes.
Yep.
And then Blue Sky is brandywine.bsky.social, something like that. Yeah,
Yep.
I totally prepared for this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can follow, first of all, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'm got a lot of videos going on. I've started doing this week in Trek, which is like everything that's coming out that week, all the news from the last week kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. I think that's what YouTubers say these days. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Kurtrats, and on Mastodon at kurtrats.mstdn.ca. And I'm actually on Blue Sky now. Finally, I'm at Kurtrats and at Positively Trek on Blue Sky. So go check those out. And Positively Trek, the podcast, follow that if you haven't been listening already. There's an unexpected break this week. There won't be a new episode this week, but we'll be back next week. Well, by this week, I mean this coming week. We'll be back the week after that. So thank you all so much for joining us. This has been so much fun. I can't wait to do this for the next, I guess, just 8 more episodes now. Darn it. Oh, that makes me sad. But it'll be fun. It'll be amazing. We're going to have a heck of a time. And Discovery may be ending, but there's still lots more Star Trek. Starfleet Academy is going to be continuing the 32nd century stuff. And the one thing I've heard about it that made me so excited now, I was kind of like, oh, that'll be interesting. But the set they're building for it, I guess, is going to be the biggest set ever constructed for a Star Trek television show, which blows my mind because the previous record holder for that was the Promenade on Deep Space Nine, which is an incredible set. So this is going to be the atrium of Starfleet Academy, I guess, that has classrooms and a mess hall and a view of the Golden Gate Bridge and all this stuff. So I cannot wait for that. That sounds like it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
but
hopefully has Tilly. Otherwise, why?
yeah. Uh, and before we get that, of course, we'll get season 3 of Strange New Worlds in 2025. And this year we're getting season 5 of Lower Decks, supposedly, and possibly Section 31 is coming this year as well. So I'm very excited for that.
I wonder if that guy that she was flirting with would be in it too. And that's why that he's
Hmm,
there, why they showed him.
that
Mm.
could be. Because, yeah, he
Anyway,
doesn't show up in the second episode because she's away from the academy. So that hasn't continued unless it's going to be picked up later. But if not, yeah, maybe that's just a little tease for Starfleet Academy. That's cool.
yeah, because they gave him lines and stuff. So,
Yeah. They let him talk.
yeah, if they let him talk, that means they're not just a background character, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And of course, season 2 of Prodigy as well needs to be mentioned for sure.
If they ever give us a date.
Yeah. I just hope it's not in the middle of this. Like, I hope it's not like, oh, it's coming next week, y'all. Give
Because
us some time.
they'll drop all of them at the same time. You know they will.
Mm-hmm. Well, this week on the Unready Room, we're reviewing 21 episodes of Star Trek, 20 episodes of Prodigy, and this week's episode of Discovery.
Uh,
We'll be here into late Sunday.
I'm just gonna go walk into a moopsie. I can't.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my god. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen. Oh,
Yeah,
anyway,
that was.
I want to
I
see
hope.
it, but give us
Yeah,
some time.
I hope Netflix is smarter than that, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. See you next time. Live long and prosper. All of that good stuff.
Live
Live
logs and
logs and
proper.
proper. All right. Take care, y'all. Bye.